Good afternoon, everybody. Let's start with some introductions. So why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us about, what your company does and your role.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everybody. Nice to see you all. This is my first Brand Innovators Summit. I'm having a great time. I'm head of product marketing at InMobi, and I work in our app growth division. So working with a lot of loyalty apps and looking to acquire new users that look like their best users, as well as drive those lower funnel conversions and lifetime value.
Hello everyone, I'm Wesley Lenear. I'm the Director of Data at Teads. Teads is a programmatic SSP in the advertising space, so we work with a lot of web publishers to help them monetize their ad inventory, and also with advertisers to help them deliver messaging on premium web environments. So as Director of Data, I help a lot of our advertiser clients distribute their messaging and promote all of our data capabilities.
You want to give me your nickname of Cookie Monster?
Obviously it's timely with Google's announcement, but yeah, I've been known as the Cookie Monster at Teads.
Just recently found that out, so I figured everybody else should know it too.
Are you the count then?
I hope so. With black. Chad Reynolds, founder and CEO of Vurvey. We started out as a video survey platform to help everybody share their voice with brands. And we're creating a new category called mind sharing, which allows you to tap into the collective intelligence of everybody in the world to help move your company, your brand forward. So think of it as like ride sharing, but for your brain.
Great, thank you. So let's put a twist on the question. Usually everybody asks, what is your favorite loyalty program or your app? I'm going to reverse it and tell me what's your least favorite loyalty program or app that you have encountered with. So let's start with Chad.
I would say it's like my least. I'd say Spotify is both my favorite and my least favorite. Just because I feel like there's so much more that they can do. And I think got off to like a really strong start, providing recommendations and all these types of things. But like I really wish I had the ability to have multiple accounts, so I could have my family, so I'm not stuck listening to Kids Bop when I go to the office. Just like all these little details of how you want to listen to music and how you want to create your own music and things like that. Just feels like such a big opportunity. But I also love loyalty programs that maybe don't call themselves loyalty programs. Like Apple makes you pay for loyalty with like Apple Care. Same thing with Amazon. Just like you're paying for a premium experience that you want to have. And I love those types of programs that maybe don't even call themselves a loyalty program.
I think you bring up a good point. When does loyalty program actually becomes a paid loyalty program, right? Think about, you have such a loyal fans. Now you can charge them to be able to become part of that loyalty program. How exclusive is that?
Yeah, so for me, for my least favorite, I won't single them out by name, but there's a certain, say, a shoe company that I purchase a lot of products from. I'm a big shoe head. And I get a lot of messaging immediately after I make a purchase from this brand, and it's a little off-putting because it's trying to trigger me to re-engage and repurchase right away after I literally just made a transaction. So it does kind of sour the experience, but I do keep coming back in some ways. So
Feels like it's working.
yeah. So in some ways it is working, but it's just a weird experience. So it doesn't make people less loyal with it.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little different direction here. I'm guessing this might resonate especially with some of my fellow Midwesterners and some of these guys on stage. If any of you have ever seen the movie A Christmas Story, you might remember the lead character, Ralphie, drinking a lot of Ovaltine, collecting all these UPCs, to send them in because there was a partner program on his favorite radio program, The Little Orphan Annie. So he sends it in, has to wait to get this thing in the mail, it was a decipher a secret code from the radio show. And he finally gets something all excited, runs inside, decoding, it's an ad. Drink more Ovaltine. So after all that work, it wound up being something self-serving to the brand rather than nurturing loyalty with the customer.
Great. Okay, let's get into some of the recent developments we had. I don't know if you're following Google. Google just announced on Monday that they are not phasing out the cookies, right? So that means the cookie monster still stays with us. But I mean, it was, so they did pilot studies. So 1% of Google users, were actually put in that test bracket. And then we saw that there was a 30% drop in the revenue. So that was pretty alarming to Google. And I think that's one of the reasons they've decided not to phase out cookies. So they're going to stay with us. So, Sara, what do you think? What has been your experience like? We've been hearing about deprecation. Of course, Safari has done it for a while. How do you foresee this, or how brands would pivot now, especially, on the loyalty side, because that ID is so important?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been immersed in this world for a while. Prior to being at InMobi, I was head product marketing for Publicis' core ID. So, been planning for this doomsday forever. And in reality, it's been cookieless in other browsers for a while. And, rather than solve for it, there's been a little bit of putting head in the sand or shifting budgets elsewhere. We had this doomsday. Now doomsday has been a little overstated, but the issue is that, there is going to still be a large portion of traffic that will be cookieless in Chrome. We flipped over to a user consent model, which is eerily familiar to those of us in the mobile world due to app tracking transparency, where it's the onus is going to be on us as marketers to communicate the right value exchange to where consumers are going to be willing to trust us with that data. And then the complexity here is that we're going to have to keep a foot in both worlds. We're going to have a lot of cookieless users that we want to reach, but then also some that will have third-party cookies. So, it's nice to have it, but it adds a new layer of complexity, unfortunately.
And just to add on to that, I think the announcement itself doesn't materially change anything in its current state because, just from what you explained, there's already a split between untrackable users from things such as Apple's app tracking transparency, other browsers are already not supporting third-party cookies. So we see the majority of the open internet be cookieless already identifiable to the tune of over 60%. So we're essentially just waiting for, we were waiting for Google to make their decision, but with the most recent announcement and moving that to an opt-in model, we expect to see similar results from Apple's app tracking transparency, where users aren't going to readily opt in potentially. So we'll see that portion of identifiable users tend to decrease a little bit more. But ultimately, I think if you come down to fostering user privacy and trust, and when we're talking about loyalty, I think the first piece of loyalty comes down to trust, right? Are we able to get a user or potential customer's trust to initiate consumer interaction, and then from there, can we maintain that? So, with respect to the cookie deprecation that was planned, it was done so in respect of user privacy, but a lot of the alternatives that have been brought forth may not have really been truthfully more privacy safe. So, I think there's just been a lot of consternation around that, and ultimately it led to that decision from Google. So definitely more to come, but I think materially doesn't really change anything at the moment.
So there's a huge opportunity for brands out there to create a reason for me to share information with you and make my experience a lot better. Everything is kind of felt transactional in a way where it's a spend and get type of model. And for anyone that's out there that's, you want to be known, you want to be seen, you want to have your name tag on, you want people to look at your face, your name, where you're from, ask questions, but brands tend not necessarily to do that. You're filling out forms, and then, like Wes said, as soon as you buy something, So as soon as you transact, it's like, here's what's your next transaction. There's not much of a relationship in that, and we just see a very different world for the next generation who wants to be inspired, they want to be creative, they want to make things with brands, and it's a huge opportunity for brands out there to open up and create those opportunities for you to create the next menu item or create the next experience you want to have, and actually be recognized as a creator in not just creating content online, but creating with the company and doing that at scale. I think those are huge opportunities for brands to not only get to know people, but also for people to feel seen and have them included in the process.
Great, thank you. So let's talk about 2007. Anybody remember what happened in 2007? The first iPhone came out, right? And then 2008 comes your App Store. And 2009, 10, and 11, we started seeing mobile apps come up. And mobile apps have literally changed the face of loyalty, right? Now, we are again in the next round of transition is the AI or the Gen AI. And they are again going to be redefining loyalty. So if you are not if you're in a conference and you do not hear about AI or Gen AI, you're in the wrong place, right? So I'm going to ask the panelists that, what do you think or how do you foresee AI or Gen AI reshaping or redefining the future of loyalty? Maybe that's your thing.
Yeah, so I think when you think about loyalty, it's predicated on all of the consumer interactions with the brand. And as part of that, there's multiple touch points that you have. So you might have a website, you might have a physical store, you just reference mobile apps, and now we're seeing AI take shape as potentially an additional touch point. So the key there, I think, will be to ensure that you have all of those touch points and those interactions be unified, and ensuring that you can have consistent flow and communication between all of those. Because ultimately, as a user or consumer, your experience with the brand, whatever touch point you're interacting with, is going to be perceived as the same. You're thinking of it as that brand itself, right? And you want to have a positive experience there. So I think that's probably the most important thing with the rise of generative AI, is to ensure that accurately reflects the entire experience that the consumer has.
Anything you want to add? Sara?
Yeah, sure thing. You know, one distinction to make, I think we all hear a lot about generative AI, but AI and machine learning manifests in many different ways within marketing. And specifically, like one of the big areas of focus for us at InMobi is driving growth campaigns for marketers using AI to offset a lot of that signal loss that we see on specifically the fruit phone. So being able to kind of everything old is new again, look at things on a cohort level, on a contextual level to find the right people, continue getting smarter, and that requires like voluminous amounts of data about what those best users look like. So if you want to best empower your partners that help grow your loyalty program or app, finding ways to safely share the first-party data on what those good users look like, will really help accelerate performance and make things a lot more efficient.
For us, we're a generative AI company, so maybe I'll talk about an AI on two fronts, one on the consumer side. What we allow is for every individual in the world to create essentially an AI agent of yourself. So sharing, it's on a form that you fill out, you can talk to it and actually build yourself, kind of like your digital twin, and start to matchmake you with opportunities inside of a brand or multiple brands that are really geared to what you love doing, right? So you've got this opportunity with Gen AI on the consumer side, where I can scale out, it gets to know who I am, I own all the data associated with that. On the other side, you've got the customer. And so on that side, we're building AI agents that can be trained on very specific parts of the company. So, for instance, we have Adidas that's a customer. You can launch a Vurvey out to 10,000 runners who now can go in their closet and while on video share their favorite shoes, the features they love, how they talk about the benefits, why they're into running, what they want to see next in that model. And so now we can use Gen AI and different AI assistants in that process to uncover in seconds like what a material designer needs to know, or what a marketer needs to know, or what a product designer needs to know, even down to the individual business units. So I think for us, we're just looking at the opportunity around AI is to scale both the consumer relationship, but also inside the company to show real value of how Gen AI can help. Less focused on kind of personalizing an ad, and more focused on personalizing both people's experience kind of throughout the whole journey.
Yep. I like the idea of twins. And you can probably use them in clean room technology, right? And have those digital twins with heavy network.
Yeah. I mean, the user, the consumer, like I would own all my data in that relationship, right? And so when you think about data in terms of agentic workflows, it just opens up a tremendous amount of opportunities, both like inside the company and then also for all of us when we walk into a store, we log into an app. That I don't want to share everything. I'm not handing over my data, but your agent can talk to my agent and it can show me what I need to see based on what I care about. And so it's not just 147 data points. It's like gigabytes of information about who I am to match me up. And I think that's the huge opportunity. It does come down to trust. And so I think you have to create new and interesting experiences that people want to be a part of.
Right. Yeah. Okay, now let's switch to some macroeconomic indicators, right? For the first time, our debt-to-income ratio is more than 100%. And 75% of our GDP will be going towards interest payments alone. Think about that for a second. And then inflation at its highest inflationary pressures we have seen. Wages are stagnant, and literally when we see nothing is moving. So in this world, how do you even earn loyalty of a customer where every single consumer is price sensitive? We are looking for a cheapest hotel, cheapest flight, cheapest car rental. So I want to ask, each of the panelists, shed some light how we can use some data-driven strategies to actually earn the loyalty of our beloved consumers.
First, I think for one, having that ear to the ground and being able to react in real time. I've been a Marriott Bonvoy loyalty person for years. I'll actually hit lifetime platinum on my next trip, so I'm pretty excited about that. It takes 10 years to do. But one of the reasons I stay so loyal is because they listen and react so quickly. That they have a great app experience. So kind of connecting that physical and digital world, digital key, being able to talk to the front desk through the app. But even these little extras. So one example is I took my son to New York for the first time years ago. He was probably 7 or 8 years old. I tweeted about it and checked in on Twitter at the Marriott property I was at. Well, somebody on their social team saw that, contacted the hotel, and they had like cupcakes and a whole little goodie basket, and like a little Lego set of Empire State Building waiting for us when we checked in. So, those kind of little extras to really deliver an enhanced experience, certainly stand out to me.
You're talking about personalization to the individual level, right? Again, coming back to that human-to-human connection, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think what's going to be key, especially in this landscape economically, is from the perspective of a marketer, advertiser, understanding your own economics, right? So if you're going to be planning a campaign, you need to have a clear understanding of the actual cost that will be to potentially get an incremental customer for potentially including them into your loyalty program, right? So if you understand those economics, that can help you, price and budget your campaigns effectively, right? Even down to the most granular level, like how much you'd be willing to, bid to serve an ad impression to a potential new customer. So taking all of those into consideration is definitely going to be key with kind of the purse strings being tight, so to speak, in this tougher economic landscape. So I think that's the first consideration that needs to be made, is just ensuring that you approach any media campaign planning with that top of mind.
I just pay for the things I love. I will find the money to go pay for them. I will cut other things out of my life that I don't care so much about. And I think we're going to start to obviously see that at mass. So I think it's up to us. The opportunity is in front of us to get to know our customer more than just data points. That's what we're really excited about. Our platform and technology is that you can literally hear from millions of your customers through video. And the way that I type is very different than the way that I talk. Still monotone, maybe, but I think it's a huge opportunity to get to know the customer more than like a survey or more than a 5-star rating. I'm more than that, and so I think there's just a huge opportunity to create this like private relationship where I can hear you, I can hear what you care about, and I can start to design things with you. And I think that's why AI is so powerful, is it can do those things. There's very clear ROI, both for the individual user and for the company. But not everybody's going to do it. And so we're all going to start to shave off subscriptions that we don't really care about, and we're going to pay more for the things that we do care about.
Love it. And I think, Sara, you made a great point of that, the human connection, because ultimately, we all crave for that connection and recognition. And simply getting those, cupcakes in the room, I think that was phenomenal. And I think one brand that stands out to me is the Ritz-Carlton. Every single employee from front desk to janitor has a $1,000 limit. He or she can spend $1,000 on guest satisfaction. Think about empowering every single employee,
Is that every day?
I don't know, what's that, 2,000 now? Yeah, are you from area?
No.
Oh, you're target, okay. Well, yeah, I read that was 1,000. So think about that. How much you're empowering, your frontline, because they are the ultimate face of your company. I mean, we can be sitting in the boardroom talking about data-driven strategies all day long, but if that ground experience is shitty, we cannot undergo anything, right? Do you agree with me? Okay, now let's switch to NPS. We all heard this term, Net Promoter Score. We always wait for at least 1 quarter to get that NPS, right? And the agency comes to us, okay, by the way, your NPS dropped from 34 to 31. I'm talking about Verizon NPS. But anyways, so how do you foresee, in the world of AI and Gen AI, why does NPS we have to wait for 1 quarter? Why I cannot have a real-time NPS of my brand? I think we were talking about our prep call, so what are you talking like?
Yeah, we're doing real-time NPS. I think if you're doing it's already too late if you're already waiting a quarter on it. And you're looking in the rear mirror. I think what we're trying to do is build the windshield so you can see everybody in front of you. You can hear from so many people about what they're looking for. And it's not just sentiment, it's not just a statistic. It's also what do people care about and how can I make my brand relevant, to different groups of them. So I love more like a video-powered NPS because I want to hear the why, not just the number.
Anything you, Wesley?
Yeah, I think that's what the key is, obtaining as much data as possible, no matter how the means. So if you're based upon NPS that only gets rolled up and read out every quarter, that's obviously too slow in this current landscape. So if you're able to obtain that faster and action on it, that's going to be very advantageous for you. At Teads, we kind of tying this all together. We utilize AI from a creative serving and decisioning standpoint. So if we're running a campaign for a brand, our engine can basically look at how many responses certain advertising units might be getting. We might be doing a lot of ad testing. And so what that's actually doing is in real time with the campaign flight, showing which metrics are being surfaced. So our click-through rates for these ads doing better than the ads that we're running against those. And if we see that, we can not actually manually have to shift that. Our engine will do that automatically. And then also we have solutions such as we call our brand pulse, where we're actually polling the users that we're serving ads to, getting feedback about the brand in real time. And so getting those results quickly helps us operationalize on that immediately. So being able to move faster, obtaining data, quantitative and qualitative, will definitely help kind of this landscape and get around that kind of quarter to quarter NPS a little bit of feedback there.
Yeah, I'll just add, I believe it was Ashley from Pizza earlier that talked about being fanatical about really analyzing the customer journey and what those most valuable customers look like. And especially when it comes to mobile apps. I love what somebody said about apps being for lovers and websites being for friends. It's really a privilege to have that real estate on somebody's phone. You already know that you mean a lot to them. They're willing to let you have that spot. So really understanding those users and what the valuable users or segmented users have in common. Like the gal from At Home with the spooky community earlier, how does the spooky community behave around Friday the 13th versus a different time of year? What are the different commonalities within that cohort that then you can service them better all year round?
Great. Okay, now let's talk about coming back to Gen AI. What is your favorite, Gen AI tool that you have used and you just love it? I can start. I mean, if you're following, Meta just announced their OpenAI. OpenAI actually is not OpenAI. It's very close, right? Meta is the only one which is open source and it's available across your every single Meta properties, from Facebook to WhatsApp to Instagram. There's a little bar on your top. You can ask any question you want. Again, I'm not promoting that, but that is so powerful and phenomenal. And you do not have to pay a subscription, which you have to pay for using OpenAI. Which one is your favorite?
Yeah, I like the image generators. Definitely helps with some fun creative means like the Dolly and such. For language, I guess Claude.
Yeah, for me, I like to use Microsoft Copilot, both for just general text inputs for suggestions. Maybe I'm drafting something and I want to get a little bit more expanded wording and language. It's useful for that, but also for image generation as well. Putting together collateral for work and things like that. The image generator is very helpful for that too. So I'm a big proponent of Copilot.
I guess it can't be an AI company and not say our own platform, but maybe I'll just share a non-business use case. So, in our platform, I built out a children's book writer. And so every night when I put the girls down, I asked what was going on in their life, kind of positive, negative, how they're feeling. And then I plug that in and have Max, my little storybook agent, write me a bedtime story. So we were talking about Kings Island, which is like an amusement park in Cincinnati. So I took, my 3 girls there, and all of them could ride except for the shortest one. And she was so bummed. And so that night I plugged it in, and it developed this story of a really short flamingo, with her name, and went up to the ride and couldn't ride it because she was so short, she could see under the trees to this magical world where all this stuff happens. And so I could generate that story and images that go with it and create an insane memory. And I'm doing that every single night. So at the end of the year, I can publish that book and give it to them. So.
Great, yeah. And then, just to end with that, how do you grow your customer loyalty? I think the age of bots or the age of agents is coming, and very soon, the agents.
It's here.
No, but it's still a little bit away. Let me ask you a question, okay? If I ask you a question, let's go to Cancun. So many things come to your mind. You think, oh my God, which flight, which airline, which hotel, which Uber, what meals, right? You have so much cognitive load. But now think about an agent doing all this work on your behalf. You just tell the agent, and the agent will give you 3 choices based on the parameters you have set. And so now you don't have to go to a separate Priceline.com or a American Airlines website or anywhere else. You don't have to check reviews and ratings. The bot does everything for you. So I think that's the future where, right, the bot.
Yeah, I mean, the fastest company to get there is going to do what Amazon did for shopping. I mean, you're just going to have, like when you think of shopping, you don't go to Google anymore and search it. You just go to Amazon and buy it. So, yes, that's a huge opportunity, and you maybe don't even need the 3 choices it already knows.
You don't know that.
It's
It does looking for you, right?
Yeah, because it already knows what I like. So those are the huge value adds that I think when you look at your industry of really understanding what people actually want. It's such a huge opportunity.
Awesome. I think we are prepared for 1 or 2 questions. Any questions from the audience for our esteemed panelists?
And the Cookie Monster.
No questions?
Chad will write me up for mine.
I can do it right now. Yeah.
All right, we'll wait for the agents to help us, right? The age of agents are coming. Yeah. I think what question?
Hi, my name is Sara from Washington. I'm with American Airlines. You talked about how relationships not sometimes feel very transactional. Of course, that's not relationships with building brand loyalty. I think the book to build more transformational or emotional relationships with consumers. How do you measure that effectively?
Is that to me?
Yeah.
Or yeah. So I mean, based on what people are saying, so you can obviously, so if I'm sharing a video, right, it might be like a 5-minute video about what I think. Because it's video, I have image, audio, I have text transcripts, and I can start to look at like different topics that are being talked about, sentiment on top of that. I can summarize that. I can also do that across 20,000 people in seconds to see if there are common themes. So even though it's not necessarily a like a 5-star or something like that, I can tell you how I feel based on what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. So we're just really focused on building really cool AI tools that really understand who you are. And it's not just that one video, but it's everything you've shared with that brand up till now. So it's like a rolling profile, it's a rolling persona of who you are. And so you can also bring, using agents, you can bring that to life as a talking persona. So for some of the brands, everybody's worked on, you went into like an innovation workshop and you had those posters on the wall. It was like, meet Kate, she's 36, she's, this is the background. And then ask everybody to ideate around it. It's like impossible, right? And so we're creating essentially talkable personas. So it takes all of that data and stories, puts it into an agent, and your whole team can talk with her. And it's all grounded in everything that she said and everybody like Kate said. And now you can start to brainstorm different ideas, different concepts. You can visualize different kinds of things. So I think that the technology's there to understand sentiment and all those things. I think it's just that we have to start to ask consumers about it. And it can't just go into the ether, which my inbox is just filled with those post-transaction emails because I don't know where they're going, because it's not really enhancing my experience. And so why would I spend time to do it? So there has to be like a 2-way experience on it. Like I want an opportunity to share, but you need to show me that I've been seen in some way. So I think it's huge, because I think it's a huge opportunity. Thanks for the question.
All right. Thank you. Please, your co-panelists. Thank you.
Yeah.